It is said that nature hides her laws not from the unworthy, but from the impatient. The one who demands only numbers and power will find nothing but confusion. The one who listens for form, proportion, and harmony will find the world whispering its order. Electricity, when stripped of the abstractions that modern science has wrapped around it, is not a current of particles, but an articulation of pressure and potential in the dielectric and magnetic domains. The ancients spoke of it as a living field, the breath of the cosmos. To study it as something alive is to approach the machine not as a lump of metal, but as an instrument of correspondence between geometry and the unseen. When a generator is built with this understanding, it ceases to be mechanical. It becomes a harmonic participant in the field. And the field-aligned power generator, ranging from 10 to 30 kilowatts, is precisely such an instrument. Beneath its quiet rotation lies a language as old as Faraday and Tesla, a memory of the field itself. The first lesson of electricity is that nothing moves. What we call motion in a wire is a transformation of potential across a gradient. It is the field breathing through conductors, not particles pushing each other like beads. The second lesson is that induction is geometry made visible. It is not caused by magnets, but by the mutual interdependence of the dielectric and magnetic forces. When the rotor of a permanent magnet generator turns within its stator, it does not cut lines of flux. It alters the proportion between the magneto-dielectric field and its conductive boundary. The so-called current that emerges is the field seeking equilibrium. Every revolution is a rebalancing act between rest and motion, compression and rarefaction, seen and unseen. To those who understand the field, a machine like this is not a source of energy but a translation of order. At the end of the 19th century, the engineers of Europe and America were not yet mechanists. They were geometers of nature. Men like Dobrovolsky, Tesla, and Steinmetz still spoke in terms of polarity and symmetry, not charge. In that era, the three-phase system was born, not as a mere convenience of transmission, but as a revelation of balance. Three alternating currents, each a third of a cycle apart, formed a rotating magnetic field that mirrored the natural rotation of induction itself. It was not an invention, but a recognition. When Dobrovolsky demonstrated the three-phase line from Laufen to Frankfurt in 1891, it was as if the Earth itself had begun to breathe in harmony with man's design. For the first time, the field was not being forced, it was being allowed to turn freely. Every modern three-phase permanent magnet generator inherits that same geometry. The rotor and stator are not opposing forces but complementary aspects of the same field dynamic. To watch one turning silently in low rotation is to see the symmetry that Tesla described as a wheel of light in the air. The magnet, too, has been deeply misunderstood. To call it a storehouse of energy is as absurd as calling the stillness of a pond a storehouse of water. A magnet is not a container but a region of coherent pressure. It is a standing wave of counterspatial inertia, a frozen whirlpool in the ether. When such a magnet is rotated in proximity to conductors, it disturbs the equilibrium of the field. The dielectric lines of inertia respond by inducing potential in the copper, seeking to restore the balance that motion has displaced. What flows through the wire is not the magnet's energy but the field's attempt to heal its own geometry. The modern permanent magnet generator, operating at low speed yet producing strong current, is an expression of this truth. Its magnets are not strong because they contain something, but because their geometry is coherent. The more perfect the alignment, the less energy is required for induction. This is why low RPM operation can yield such stable output. The generator is not being driven by velocity, but by resonance between field and form. Iron remains the silent foundation of this geometry. The shaft and stator core, when properly machined and laminated, guide the flux without interruption. The choice of iron is not arbitrary. It is the most efficient medium for the breathing of the magnetic field. To the casual observer, the iron shaft is mechanical. For the physicist who understands magneto-dielectric induction, it is axial coherence. The shaft aligns the counterspatial centers of the rotating field, keeping the invisible geometry intact as motion translates through matter. In that alignment lies the generator's quiet strength. A misaligned shaft introduces what the ancients would have called discord. The field becomes turbulent, noisy, wasteful. But when balance is achieved, the generator hums with a tone that is not sound but proportion. The field itself becomes musical. Consider the wind. It is not random motion but a spiral of gradients, pressure, density, temperature. The same geometry that governs induction governs the flow of air in water. To couple a turbine directly to a low-speed permanent magnet generator is to marry two harmonics of the same law. Early engineers used gearboxes to force speed, believing that more revolutions meant more power. But nature does not reward violence. High-speed machines waste energy because they fight against the coherence of the field. The field-aligned generator dispenses with such errors. Its magnets and coils are proportioned to the natural velocity of the medium. The field responds not to speed but to symmetry. When wind turns the rotor slowly, the flux changes gently, continuously, without hysteresis. The current that arises is smooth and resonant. No gears scream, no heat is wasted. The generator becomes what the Greeks would have called an organon, a living instrument tuned to the breath of the world. In the dim laboratory of 1893, Nikola Tesla watched coils hum in the violet glow of discharge. Around him, sparks traced invisible circles. He understood that electricity is not a thing but a condition, a standing wave between tension and motion. His rotating field experiments were not born of speculation but of direct perception. He saw that the universe is a dance between the magnetic and the dielectric, and that rotation is their common language. Every alternator, every generator that followed is a simplification of that insight. The field-aligned generator follows the same path. It is not an invention in the modern sense, but a rediscovery. It takes no energy to excite its field. It draws from the ever-present magneto-dielectric medium. Its efficiency lies not in clever circuitry but in fidelity to natural proportion. Tesla's dream of self-sustaining motion was not a fantasy, it was a glimpse of the field's continuity. That power is not made but revealed when the geometry of motion aligns with the geometry of induction. To assemble such a generator today is to participate in that lineage. The craftsman, aligning bearings and centering the rotor, reenacts the ritual of the early pioneers. Yet his materials are the distillation of a century of refinement. Neodymium magnets provide flux density unimaginable to the Victorians. The stator laminations, thin as the page of a book, eliminate eddy loss. The iron shaft, precision ground, maintains coherence under torque. When the machine first turns and the meters begin to whisper, the sensation is not of power produced, but of nature responding to form. A 10 kilowatt unit turning under a gentle stream, a 20 kilowatt system mounted beneath the blades of a slow wind tower, or a 30 kilowatt alternator driving an off-grid workshop, all are the same in essence. They are translations of the same law: the field responds to motion, and motion is only the visible face of equilibrium-seeking restoration. The modern form of the permanent magnet generator is deceptively simple. Its outward stillness conceals an inward precision. The rotor's magnets define the magnetic field, the stator's copper defines the dielectric reaction. Between them spins the void, not empty space, but the etheric counterspace in which induction occurs. In three-phase configuration, the generator maintains a perfect dynamic balance. The output is smooth, sinusoidal, unforced. Each phase is a third of the whole, echoing the very structure of the magnetic field, which itself is trinary, a dielectric axis, a magnetic rotation, and a conjugate relation between them. This is why the three-phase system feels natural. It is not arbitrary engineering. It is geometry written in metal. Such a machine finds its home in places where the human desire for autonomy meets respect for natural order: off-grid systems, micro-hydro installations, mobile power units, and quiet wind towers. Each installation is a different articulation of the same symmetry, that motion within the field is sufficient. Modern textbooks teach that technology advances by replacing old forms with new. But the generator teaches otherwise. Every design, from Faraday's spinning disk to the latest low RPM alternator, is an elaboration of one timeless principle. The geometry has never changed. Oersted's compass needle, twitching beside a current-carrying wire, was the first whisper. Faraday's disk, turning between the poles of a magnet, was the first visible articulation. Maxwell gave it algebraic clothing, Tesla gave it rhythm, Steinmetz gave it precision. But all of them, knowingly or not, were describing the same thing: the field as unity. The field-aligned generator is not a break from that lineage. It is its continuation. Its silent rotation under the open wind is the living embodiment of those experiments. The copper and iron are merely the bones, the true machine is the invisible geometry they sustain. When it turns, it reveals what all good engineering should, that nature is self-consistent. There is no creation of energy, only revelation of proportion. A 10, 20, or 30 kilowatt three-phase permanent magnet generator is therefore not a commodity but a meditation. It reminds us that energy is not a product but a correspondence. The universe gives freely when we move in alignment with its laws. Built of iron and copper, magnet and bearing, it stands as a testament to continuity. It is self-excited, low-speed, efficient, and silent. Yet beyond these specifications lies something greater: the reconciliation of technology with the field. The hum it makes is not mechanical. It is harmonic. It is the sound of geometry breathing through matter. To comprehend this machine is to remember that electricity, magnetism, and motion are not separate phenomena. They are three perspectives of one living unity. The generator does not produce current, it expresses the reciprocal transformation of field and form. And so the turning of a field-aligned generator is more than engineering. It is a conversation with nature. The slow revolution of its shaft is a prayer written in steel. In this instrument, we see the union of the visible and the invisible, motion and rest, field and form, potential and proportion. The ancients might have called it an emblem of natural law. The modern engineer may call it a generator. But in truth, it is both. It asks nothing from nature that she does not already give. It wastes nothing. It hums quietly in the wind, translating motion into the language of light. And in its turning, it teaches the oldest lesson of all: when we align with the geometry of the field, power flows.